kitchen. Wealth in the kitchen.
Welcome to Wealth in the Kitchen podcast. I am your host, Lula Conley. Welcome back. To those who are already subscribed to the channel and watch faithfully, you already know what to expect. Now, if this is your first time and you are new to the channel, it's going to be good. You are in for a treat. Those that know already know. I got someone coming to the table. Listen, this lady has been a blessing in my life, and I am super excited for her to be. She is a follower of Jesus Christ, a wife, a mother, a teacher, an accountant, business owner, and author. She was called to the ministry at the age of 16. Her fivefold ministry gift is teaching. Other gifts are exhortation, helps, and administration. She's been married to Pastor Michael Payton Sr. for 42 years and the mother of 2 adult children. She serves alongside her husband at Restoration Center Church of God in Christ, Fort Wayne, Indiana. She's a new author, and the book is called The God of Restoration, released in January 2023. She has a pending publication of devotionals for youth ages 2 to 18, with a goal to have at least 2 of those 5 books published by the 4th quarter of this year. She is founder and CEO of a nonprofit, Rehoboth Outreach Incorporated, since January 2024, where she provides essential services to the homeless community, such as showers, barber beauty services, bus passes, laundry services. She creates resumes, job, apartment referrals, and etc. So if you are in need of it, she is the one to help you find it. As of January 2026, she is the founder CEO of Payton Enterprise, LLC, where she provides bookkeeping for small business owners, tax preparation, administrative business coaching, spiritual counseling, new business setup, and budgeting. She is on a focused mission to work in cooperation with the Most High God, Anita Payton. All right. Miss Anita is at the table. She is in the kitchen. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be in your kitchen today.
Well, I appreciate you accepting my invitation.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
As I was reading your bio, your nonprofit, we're not going to get to that yet.
Okay.
Because I want the people to know this.
Okay.
And how this and all of what you went through led you to having a heart for that nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah. So for that, we go way back.
I know. Way back.
I think a church service,
Might have been
a women's meeting,
something.
I don't even remember. I just remember we went out to lunch, we talked, and then I remember you babysitting my kids.
Yes.
Because I was going to the hospital to have another baby, and you kept my 3 boys.
Yep.
Yeah, and what was that like?
Oh my word! If it wasn't for the older boys, I don't know if I would have made it because they helped me through. Because the youngest one, he was just crying his eyeballs out. He was so attached to his parents, and it was I felt so bad for him, but your older boys consoled him, and I think if they weren't there, it would have been more tragic than what it was.
That's my Mikey Pooh.
Yeah.
He just turned 21.
Okay.
And I'd be like, Mike, do you remember when you was over Sister Payton's house crying? He's like, Mom, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, he was very upset.
Yeah, but I was very appreciative because this book, I didn't even know you had wrote a book, because originally the topic was going to be wise, godly counsel in your life. But by the time we got done talking, and I was like, wait a minute, you wrote a book?
Yeah.
And then when you told me the title, and then you started to tell me the story, I'm like, no, we're not even talking about the original. We're going to talk about your book, your life, because I'm like, you went through all of this?
By the grace of God.
And the more I listened to you, I was like, no, we shifting everything. We're going to talk about this book. I want you to tell me just from the beginning about growing up and how you were telling me that you didn't think your family was your family.
So she was married when she conceived me, but they were separated because he was abusive to her.
Okay.
And so while she lived in another city, she packed up and moved away to get away from him with intents on leaving him.
Mm-hmm.
And she met my dad. She worked at a bar. She was cooking at the bar, and my dad frequented the bar. And first one thing, then another thing led to me coming. While she was there, her husband called her to come back.
Mm.
And she told him, she said, I'm pregnant and it's not yours. He said, that's okay. I'll raise it like it was mine, right? So she has nothing. She said, okay, here we go. I might as well go back. So she goes back. I don't know what the time frame was, but she goes back. And then I was born.
Yeah.
Kids are so precious. They are so innocent. And when they make a comment, you need to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
They speak a truth like I have never seen before. So as a young kid, I looked around my family and I was like, why am I the only one dark? I'm like a chocolate chip amongst all these bright lights, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first thing I noticed was that nobody was as dark as me. So I told my sister, who's 4 years younger than me, I said, why am I the only dark one in the family? And she said, we found you.
No.
And I was believing her, right? She said I think she said somebody knocked on the door. When they went to the door, I was there. The people were gone and I was there. And I was about to believe her story because her story was sounding more like the truth than the rest of what I didn't know, right? So I just started asking my mom questions like, who's my real family? And that was the wrong question to ask her. She cursed me out, yelled at me, and told me I better not ever ask her that again. And I was sitting there like, wow, just ask a simple question.
So
Get all that.
how old were you when you asked your mom that?
I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I was a young kid.
Right? So you had some boldness, but
I didn't know any better. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When kids speak, you need to pay attention, right? If they notice something and they are bold enough to speak about it, you need to pay attention. And it wasn't that I overheard anybody say I was otherwise, but it was the observation I made. I'm like, gee, I'm just taking an inventory. I done count out 20 people now, and everybody is all yellow, right? And I'm the 21st person. It's like, I really felt like the black sheep. I really did.
So did you think that you were adopted?
I did. I really thought, I didn't even think my mother was my mom.
Oh, wow.
I thought they got me from somebody else. I really did.
I think in the book you were saying how when you did ask your mom and then she kind of yelled at you. Now, was that the same time that you kind of asked if she was your mom? Like who are my parents?
I just asked her who was my real parents, right? Because I didn't even think she was my mom. And she just blew up instead of her just saying, girl, I'm your mom, right?
Yeah, so she didn't even confirm that.
So that just really threw me for a loop because she never said, I'm your mother. I birthed you on. She never affirmed that I was her daughter. She just blew up. And I thought, okay, like my sister said, they found me in the doorstep. That was sounding more like the truth than anything my mother ever said.
Wow. So how did you really believe that for a long time, or you just? I
believed it until one of my cousins, I was 13 at this time, and one of my cousins came to me and she told me, she said, Uncle Carl is really not your dad. And I can't even remember having an emotion of relief or sadness or happiness. It was just dead, right? Because it just confirmed what I thought all along, right? I knew something. There was a disconnect, but I didn't know what. And so when I was 8 years old and I started asking questions, my older siblings, who's old enough to be my parents, they begged my mom to tell her the truth, but my mom wouldn't do it for nothing. I was like, what? Yeah, it was a real thing in my life.
Your stepdad, or who you thought was your dad, they had kind of separated.
Oh, yeah, when I was 4. I don't even remember being in the same house with him. But when I was 4 years old, they got a divorce.
Okay.
So the only interaction I had with him is when he would come back to our hometown. And he would just come for family reunions.
Yeah.
And I knew I believed that was my dad. But that was the only time I saw him. I didn't see him in between the family reunions. Like he didn't call to talk to me or nothing. It was
Oh,
just at the
wow.
family reunions. Yeah.
How do you think that kind of shaped you going into your latter teenage years or your early adult years? Like, was it just, did you kind of just settle it, or was you just like, okay, I just don't think this is my family?
Well, when I found out, when my cousin confirmed it when I was 13, by that time, the Lord had say I got saved and I was living for the Lord. And I think that was the highlight of my whole teenage years.
Yeah.
Like I was just so excited to be saved and live for him. I was singing in the choir and I was exploring other things. So those things about my new walk with the Lord kind of took my
Yeah.
mind off of my trauma.
Yeah, so you
Not
weren't
knowing
focused on
right, I
that.
wasn't really focused on that.
So,
Yeah.
Cousin Faye. Nah.
Yeah.
So I always look and be like, there's always somebody in the family that God will have in place to kind of help navigate you.
Yeah.
Especially when I think you chosen and you don't really know you chosen, but they see something on you. So I enjoyed reading about Cousin Faye. And I was just like, look at God using.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Cousin Faye was an angel to our family. Like she was the first one out of the generation before her generation. She was the first one that I remember giving her life to the Lord and actually living for him. Like, people go to church and they say, they born again. I'm a child of God. We got all kind of things we call it, but they wasn't living a holy life. She was the first one out of all of our family that I knew that professed him, and her life lined up with what she was saying. And she was a bright light. A lot of the family members rejected her and shunned her and didn't want to have nothing to do with her.
Wow.
And when that happened, she said God told her to go to get the children. And I was one of them she got. Boy, am I glad she did. I'm telling you. She was really an angel in my life, right?
Wow.
Taught me the things of God and showed me most of all, she discipled me. I walked alongside. I watched her. She showed me, and then she let me in, and I miss her to this day.
I could see how God was orchestrating, how he was setting things up. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you, Mother High.
Oh, my word. Bless Mother High. She was, she came to our church and ran a revival when I was like, I might have been 13 by this time. And she ran a revival, and somehow she and I connected, and she had given me names of young people that she had met along her missionary journey and running revivals, and she wanted me to write them and just encourage them. So I wrote, I don't know, she probably gave me 5 or 6 young people, and some of them, I don't think I've ever met any of them, but I would just write them and encourage them in the things of God, give them scriptures, and yeah. All my days, like I've been writing and pen paling with people that I had never met before. But one summer, she came to visit. Maybe this was in the springtime, because that summer I went to stay with her when I was 16. She asked my mom if I could come and visit. So not only did I pen pal with the people she gave me, but I would write her letters and she would write me back,
wow.
right? I don't know if we talked on the phone much, but we write letters. And she was a older lady. I'm guessing she might have been in her 60s or 70s when I was a kid. But we would pen pal back and forth. And one summer she asked me to come to Jersey City, and my mother let me ride the bus 16 hours. The Greyhound bus. That's when the Greyhounds had the dog on the side, right?
I remember.
Yeah, you knew a Greyhound when you saw it. She let me ride by myself to Jersey City. I went there to stay a week, and I ended up staying a whole month, if not more, with Mother High. She was another angel in my life that discipled me and taught me the things of God. She was a praying woman. That was my alarm in the morning, waking up to Mother High in her bedroom calling on Jesus.
Wow. And when I was reading about that, I was just thinking how the seeds are being planted. How you go from Cousin Faye to Mother High, and how God is just still just orchestrating and filling you. And I remember them revivals.
Mhm.
They like how now today is like, okay, we doing 3 days.
Right. These
but,
will be a week. They start out a week.
Yep.
But then they say, well, I hear the Lord saying we need to go another week. Sometimes we be in revival like a month or two or the whole summer. Yeah, this stuff we doing now. The third day is when everybody find out you in the revival. By that time, the revival is over, right? Yeah, you just getting ready to get your breakthrough in the revival. They doing the benediction. I'm like, okay,
because I remember
continue.
It was 5-day revivals. I used to be like, dog, we gotta go to church all week.
Right.
My mom was like, it's revival this week. We going to church. That was about it. Like, ain't nothing else happening.
Yeah, but those was some good times, right?
Yeah.
When you got on the altar, everybody was on the altar. Now you call people up, right? Those who volunteer to come. But back then, everybody came up. Everybody was crying out to God about something. Met Mother High at the altar, right? Oh, I love her. I actually came here to Indiana. When I came here to go to school, I told the pastor about her, and he actually let her come.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she came and ran a real 5-day revival.
I think we need more Mother Highs and Cousin Fays and whatnot.
For sure.
We need a discipleship. So now I remember, was it Indiana Business College?
I went to International Business College.
They used to come to my school and talk about that's the penny had that back then.
Yep, they had it back then in my day.
So you was heading off to college.
I was a young teenager.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I just came here to go to school, and I was going to move on and go out west until I met my husband.
Because you seem like you were focused on God. Like God had a real tight hold on you. Like your mind wasn't like, oh, I need to get a date. I need to be in a relationship. I need to do like whatever normal teenage girls are thinking about. Yeah. So you was focused on going to college and going to Colorado.
And I was going to go to Colorado. Did I say that in the book?
Yep.
I sure was going to Colorado Springs, Colorado, until Mike Payton came along.
Let's dive into how you and him met and then ended up getting married.
Girl. Well, you know, when I came here to go to school, I lived with the pastor of the church. So the church here and my church in my hometown in Ohio, we used to fellowship every year. So for pastoral anniversary, appreciation services, whatever you want to call it, they would come to our grand finale day, and then we would come over here. So I didn't know anybody personally at the church. Like I hadn't befriended anyone. But when I got ready to go to school, my pastor in Ohio told because my mother didn't want me to stay in the dorms. Yeah. He said, well, why don't you check with the pastor there and see if somebody in the congregation would want to take a college
student.
And
they did stuff like that.
They used to, right? So the lady who was supposed to take me in, she got cold feet and backed out. She felt uncomfortable having a stranger in her home. So it wasn't enough time for them to find someone else. So the pastor and his wife took me in. They said, well, we don't have time. We'll just let her stay with us. Okay. But it was all a divine setup too, because a month after I got there, she ended up getting sick. She had complications from diabetes. So I had to drive her around, help them take care of their granddaughter. Yeah. So it was all ordered by the Lord. But my husband went to their church. When I got there, he was nowhere to be found. He wasn't saved. He had been a backslider. But I think a year after I had been there for school, he ended up giving his life back to the Lord. And and his mother, I loved his mother before I loved him. His mom was the president of the choir, and I was singing the choir. And she was just a precious, one of them old Mother High kind of people, just a precious woman of God who cared about you for real. And he ended up getting saved, and he saw I was a strange face in the place. Yeah. And he went back and asked his mom, who's that girl? You know, and she told her, oh, she's a college student from Ohio. And I appreciate him to this day. Bless his heart. He was a gentleman. He's still a gentleman. He called the pastor's wife to ask the pastor's wife if he could call me. Because he knew I lived with them. Yeah. And he said, Michael, call her and ask her. So once again, because I had guy friends, you know, that's what I was thinking. We just going to be friends like the guys I normally had. Cool. But that wasn't what he had in mind, right? So he called. He wanted to start calling me, and I agreed. I said, "Yeah, that's okay. That's fine." Was none the wiser because I was going to Colorado. Yeah, but so we started out talking, just through him asking permission. Could he call and talk to me on the phone? Yeah, we didn't talk about nothing.
Yeah, we talk about that.
No, we wouldn't talk about nothing.
So when did you start feeling something, or did you?
I sensed that he wanted something deeper than a friendship.
Okay.
And when I did, it kind of just evolved because I never remember him per se saying he wanted to be in my life like that. Just in our conversations, it evolved, and then he wanted to start coming over to visit, right? So he asked the mother if he could come over and see me sometime, and so he would come to see me. I would see him at church and that kind of thing. So I think the time rolled up to having an affection for him, right?
Yeah.
And then he asked me to go out to eat. So, that's another step. And people start wanting to eat with you, right? Break bread with you. It's like, yeah. So I remember the first date we went on, we went to Wendy's. Yeah, we went. He said, well, you would like to stop and get a burger?
No.
So, yeah, I think it just evolved from there, really.
And see, that sounds
was nothing
so
set
simple
out.
and so sweet.
Yeah, it just evolved. His friends, and next thing I know, we was loving each other, right?
Right, we go together,
right?
And 42 years later,
yeah,
somebody was loving somebody.
God be the glory, right? Yep, 42 years.
So I got saved. I already knew I wanted to be married and have a family, so I would tell guys, look, I'm ready to get married and have a family. If that's not your plan, we're not doing it. I ain't wasting no more time.
Yeah, because they're in the way while you waiting on the right one and fooling around with the wrong one. They really wasting your time.
Yeah. This is what I want to know. What was your idea of marriage? Or did you even have anything in your mind of what it was going to be like? Or
Well, it certainly wasn't because I saw an example.
Right.
Growing up, like my mom was married, to my siblings' father when I was conceived. So, that's adulterous, and I was a real bastard child, right? People use it to cuss folks out.
They do.
I was a two-legged one walking around. And so then she remarried when I was 10, and he was her husband. He was a nice man, I don't have no beef with him, but he didn't embrace me as a daughter. So I never had a father figure in my life.
Wow.
And then when I moved here and I got married, my husband's father passed away when he was a young boy. He doesn't even vaguely remember his dad. Yeah, so it was not because I saw an example. Then my sisters were in abusive relationships. Like I'm watching them get beat up and screaming. And it was traumatic. Yeah, so I didn't see even my cousin Faye. She was in a tumultuous marriage. I didn't see a marriage that I say, oh, I want that, right?
Yeah.
So I really didn't have anything in mind. I didn't know, I'm thinking you get married and you have kids, right? And you have a happy life.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, right? I really didn't have anything to really gauge what that was going to look like, right?
Yeah. Because I think for me, like, even as a little girl, I tell my husband sometimes, I was like, I used to sit on the porch with the remember the Sears and Roebuck catalog?
Oh yeah,
the bit about that
big old book, right?
I used to sit on the front porch. I was about 9 or 10 years old. I'd be flipping through. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be married one day, and we're gonna have kids, and I'm gonna dress my kids like this, and we're gonna have that. So I had like created this whole world
from the catalog book.
And I kept saying, okay, I'm gonna get married. We're gonna have 2 kids. We're gonna have a dog. We're gonna have a big house. I had this whole world created, but it's almost like I created a fantasy world of being married, but I don't know where the husband was at. I just remember when I did meet my husband to be, and I still had this thing like, okay, I looked at it like a business, because that's what they were kind of teaching you. Get married, y'all work and you build this and you get a house, you buy a car, you do this 2.5 kids. It's like all this stuff. My mindset was business. His mindset was the knight in shining armor on riding off with the white horse. And I'm like, no, we gotta do this. Yeah, but I learned a lot.
Isn't that funny how we have, before we get married, we got this idea, but it's nothing like that. I tell people you got to be all in, committed. And the thing that helped me stay is God reminded me, you promised that you were going to stay for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the worst is going to look like, right?
And I don't even think we pay attention to those vows. We just be up there repeating stuff.
Right.
We just be like, yeah, you say what they tell you to say, and you know a little bit, and in your mind, you're like, okay, yeah, better or worse. Okay, rich or poor. Okay. But you don't think you're going to actually go through the worst part or the poorer part.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I say you got to love God more than you love your mate, because if you don't, you're going to leave.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
You go kick rocks and be like, I'm gone.
I'm out.
Yeah. So y'all are married. Was it 2 years into the marriage?
It was probably three years when he backslid. I thought everything was lovely until, like I said, he ended up deciding he no longer wanted to walk with the Lord and he wanted to do something different. And even then, when he left the Lord, I'm thinking, he's just not going to go to church anymore. I'm just going to have to go by myself. But it was nothing like that, right? It was what I noticed, like he got a job and he worked a shift that took him away from church, right? And he wasn't able to come and be in fellowship with like believers. Now, that's a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
People say, well, you don't have to go to church, but you got to be in fellowship with somebody who can encourage you. And so when he got a job and he could no longer be there, I don't know if you on purpose, just drift away, but you could see, you're drifting away. So when you are in that situation, you got to be beefing up on your time at home or else you're going to fall through the cracks, right? Yeah. And none of that was happening. I worked first, he worked second, it's just passing each other like ships in the night. When he got home, we were, I'm ready to go to bed. So I think it was his employment and the fact that he could no longer be in fellowship with like believers. He just drifted away. He's a quiet person by nature, so it wasn't like he was with a crowd of people, becoming the people he hung out with, because he was a loner. He still is. But, when your heart starts drifting away, the enemy will fill it up with other things, right? Yeah, so I just believe that was the beginning of it.
The thing that hit me is when you found out that he was like not so much about the marijuana, but now it's crack cocaine.
Oh, Jesus.
And how you say you picked up the baggie and it's like the Holy Spirit was like, told you what it was.
I like I said, never been around anything drug related. My brother used to smoke weed in our house. My mom would tell him, don't do it in the house. So I knew what marijuana smelled like. But like I said in the book, one day I was cleaning out the closet or vacuuming or something, and I saw it looked like, when you go get new clothes and you have extra buttons, it looked like one of those little bags, but except they had powder in it. Some white substance in it. And I picked it up and looked at it and I said, wow, this is teeny weeny bag. What could have come in here and left this residue? And right away, the Holy Spirit said that it was crack. Now, I had never seen crack in my life. And that is the only crack I ever seen, was it that little residue that was in the bag. I didn't know what it looked like, but that's what the Lord said. And even then, I still didn't know, okay, well, what does that mean, right? It's not marijuana, but it's a drug. But I didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue.
I know that you said the Lord said, don't say nothing. So walk me through that, because I know.
That was hard.
Yeah.
So, right away I wanted to just, wherever he was at, go to where he was. He wasn't even at home at the time, but I was just in a rage. I'm like, crack, what? What are we doing? And so all types of emotions just rushed through: anger, confusion, betrayal, just a flood of emotions flood my whole being. And so by, when he did get home, I'm looking at him like, I really wanted to say something, but the Lord said, don't say anything. Just don't say anything. And I still didn't really know the dynamics of what all that encompassed, right? What do you mean don't say anything?
Yeah.
And it wasn't at that point that I noticed like money missing or stuff missing. None of that was going on. So I just obeyed the Lord, right? He said, don't say anything. So I didn't say anything. Yeah. It was very hard. And like I said, I wasn't seeing him acting different or out of character, or nothing was going on. Not bad at that time. I don't know as far as the timeline, but I remember being in the dark in bed. And I think by this time, money was missing, right? Checks was bouncing, I think by then. So I'm wondering, what's going on? We don't have money. Money I think we have, we don't have.
Wow.
And I remember laying in the bed in the dark of the night, and he said, honey, are you asleep? And I said, no. And he said, I got something to tell you. And the Holy Spirit already let me know that he was going to confess.
Wow.
And I just told him, I said, I already know. He said, no, you don't know this. This is bad. But so I just let him talk. And that's what he told me. He said, I've done the thing that I said I wouldn't do. He said, I've done it. He said, I'm hooked and I'm addicted to crack.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, I don't know if the ground moved, the bed dropped from under me, but I just felt like I was just going down in a downward hole somewhere. And so by this time, I'm crying and I could hear my tears hitting my pillow,
Wow.
And I told him, I said, I've known for, and I told him how long I had been knowing. And he said, why didn't you say anything? I said, because God said, don't say anything. So I didn't say anything, right? And so apparently the Lord wanted him to confess. I don't know how it would have gone if I had approached him. But he did admit that he was hooked and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You see other
I've been
people, how
around
it,
and family members, and it's
just destroy them.
It will take everything from you, rob you of everything.
Everything, and that's exactly what it did,
and
right?
It's almost like they stuck in a time warp because they don't realize how much time has passed since they've been getting high, and that's devastating.
And like I said, I was young. My kids were, we had both the kids by this time, and I'm thankful to this day. So I think my daughter might have been around 4, my son might have been 2 going on 3. I'm thankful to this day that they were those ages, because they don't really remember him being in that state. And then I always think about the times we didn't have much food. And these days now kids want a chicken wing, a chicken leg, and 3-4 other things with it. Well, back then, like, you just eating a can of green beans, right? And have no meat, no other side to go with it. And if they had been of age to say, this all we eating, I probably would have heard them. Now, I'm telling you, this a child abuse thing is a real thing, because the parents who abuse their children, it's not the kid and what they did, it's all of the things that they carry. And the kid is just an innocent bystander and the next victim, right? But I could see myself taking it out on them in the wrong way if they had questioned, we don't have lights. Mom, why are we sitting in the dark, right? Lights out, burning candles. But they never thought it was strange that we was burning candles, right? None of that. I thought, thank you, Jesus. That was grace for me. Because I was up under so much pressure and so much stress. If they would have said, why the lights out? So I always think about that. And I said, Lord, I thank you. You know all things. And even though it was a horrific time in my life, me, that was grace that my kids were so young. They didn't question anything. You don't have lights. You don't have running water. They're not caring about that, aware, right? Yeah.
So how were you? Because I know you just said how you stressed, because you're holding all this in, you're carrying all this. So how did you navigate, even with did you talk to your church family? Did you or did you just feel like you had to bear the weight of everything?
I was dragging it all by myself. Like it was a couple of my friends who knew, a couple that I was good friends with. They knew because they would help me, on occasions when I didn't have food. But some of the people in the church knew because he was asking them for money, telling them we need rent money. And then some of them kind of caught on to say something's not right. And then they would start calling me and saying, well, your husband called and asked for money. Do you guys need money? But we were so far behind in rent. What they would have given us wouldn't have helped us a lick.
Wow.
Right? So I'm not getting ready to waste your money because what you are about to give is not going to bail me out of the situation I'm in. So, I had to tell them, don't give him a dime, right? So then they started knowing, but still, I never sat with anyone to talk to them about what I was going through. My family didn't know. The people in the church, I didn't talk to anybody there. It might have been a different stress for me if I had somebody that I just didn't. I looked around the church. I never heard anybody testify that they was delivered from drugs. I never heard anybody testify that their husband was on. I just didn't. Out of the inventory I had to work with, I never heard anybody even talk about drugs in church.
Wow. So
I thought, I ain't telling these people nothing, right?
Yes.
So I just suffered unnecessarily. Because I at least could have had some food, maybe a chicken wing. Somebody would have bought me a. But I didn't say anything. I didn't tell people my lights went out. Nothing. I didn't ask the church for nothing. Right? I was the church administrator, and I saw what other people had to go through to get money. I wasn't about to ask for a dime.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you were still young. How old were you? You still in your early 20s?
Oh, I was probably 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a young kid. I ain't know nothing about nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You probably didn't even have the wherewithal to know where to go.
I didn't know it was food banks. I didn't know, and probably if I had shared, people would have said, well, you can go here and get food. Didn't know anything about, I didn't know about places you can go to get help with your utilities.
Yeah. Wow.
Your rent, nothing. I'm in the dark and could have got help. But closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah. Not knowing added to the pressure. That's kind of now starting to build up inside.
That and pride.
Yeah.
Pride to kill you, right?
Yeah.
Eyes wide open. Shoot yourself. Because I was so embarrassed about my whole situation and I couldn't believe I was living this life. Right? I didn't have a fairy tale white picket fence looking through the Sears catalog type of experience, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. Right? Yeah, I was like, this can't be right. So, it was horrible.
Okay, so how many years was he backsliding and on drugs?
Say about 3 years went from him leaving God, and he started drinking and doing weed first. Like I said, it wasn't, we still getting our bills paid, but when the crack came, that changed the whole dynamic of everything.
So throughout that process, y'all were facing foreclosure. And you ended up going back to Lima to stay with your mom.
I did.
But then the Lord was telling you got to go back. You got to come back to Fort Wayne. And then I was just thinking how you said you were driving that hour to work.
Every day.
And then driving an hour back to Lima.
It was hard because back then, we actually changed times. Like Indiana, Ohio was on different times. So I would leave here and gain an hour and lose an hour coming back this way. And so it would be dark when I left Ohio and dark when I went back. I was just so tired. I can remember falling asleep on the road, and if it wasn't for those grids on the side, I probably would have been over the bank somewhere. Because that's what would wake me up. When my tires would hit those grids, I would wake up and look around and wonder how long I had been asleep, because nothing, when I got my bearings together to figure out where I was, from where I remember, seemed like I had driven a while. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I was asleep that long? Yeah, it was the real thing. But I was driving back and forth every day just to keep my job.
I wanted to ask you, do you believe that God kind of got a hold to you early to kind of fortify you in him because that way you can kind of weather the storm of what you were going to go through in your marriage. So do you think that time you spent with Cousin Faye and Mother High and just the power of God and how you were really just kind of saturated in God's love, so do you think
You know what?
that had a bearing?
Girl, I ain't never thought about it like that until right now. That had to be, right?
Yeah.
When I look back in retrospect, listening to you say it that way, it had to be.
That's what I was thinking, because as I was reading
never
the book,
thought about it.
I'm just like, God was preparing her for down the road.
Never
Because
thought.
I think if you hadn't like really been in that environment with your cousin and Mother High and just kind of spending that summer with her and all of that, because throughout the book you'd always say, God told me not to say nothing, or God told me it was time to go back, or God, and then you was like, well, God had me all this time, so I'm just gonna trust him.
Well, and you know, the thing about it is, the first time I can say God spoke to me and I knew it was him was when I was at Mother High's house. She was in there praying. I heard her praying. I woke up and I just felt the power of God in her house. So I started praying too. I was in a different room and I just started praying. And in the course of my praying, I remember saying, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do, but whatever you want me to do, I'm willing, right? And I remember opening up the Bible. I said, Lord, just show me what you want me to do. And when I opened up my Bible, I opened up to Jeremiah 1. I had never read Jeremiah 1, didn't know nothing about Jeremiah. And it said he was going there and said, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you, right?
Yep.
And he was reassuring me that though you didn't get here the right way, I ordained you to be here, right? It's not your fault. Your parents did what they did, and this adulterous relationship going on. But that was my assurance that I wasn't a mistake when he said, before I formed you.
Wow.
So hey, now that now that I look back, it was fortifying me and building my faith to hear God, right? Because that's the first time that I could say God said, well, you know what? I take that back. That was when I was 16. Before then, when I was seeking the baptism of the Holy Ghost, I heard the Spirit of the Lord say for me to go on a fast. He said, I want you to don't eat nothing or drink anything for 3 days and 3 nights.
Wow.
And the Lord baptized me in the Holy Ghost on that 3rd day. I remember going to noonday prayer. And on my way to prayer, I walked the prayer that day. I was just saying, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I was just praising God all the way. And as soon as I stepped into the church, they didn't even get on their knees. And I probably could have received it on my way to church, but I thought I had to be in the building, right? You know, I thought I had to be there. So that's where I just really gave up. And the Lord just baptized me in the Holy Ghost.
Wow.
And so it was when I was 13, but by the time I was 16, when I went to New Jersey, for sure, I'm sure Mother High, and I never looked at it like that.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that out.
When I'm reading, I'm just like, oh, he got hold of her early because he knew she was going to go through this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because you had to be saved to go through that. People walk away from marriage just because we're incompatible. We fell out of love.
Right.
I don't like him anymore. Well, she gained weight.
We grew apart.
Yeah. People will divorce for the wind blowing the wrong way. But to hold on to God and to listen to God telling you, because you said God told you don't divorce him.
That's what he said.
And even some church people were
Was
telling
me.
you, you know, well, he abandoned you since he left, and you was like, but you knew inside, no, he didn't really abandon. I put him out. He didn't really abandon me.
Right. He came home and all his little belongings was on the back. Everything he owned was on this step.
Yeah.
But and to this day, if he would have still been out there strung out on drugs, I would still be married to him. And it was because I wanted to please God more than I wanted to please him, more than I wanted to please myself. Listen to other people. I said, Lord, whatever you say. I'm being fortified through Mother Wagner, my cousin Faye, and Mother High. I didn't know it until just now, but I'm sure the Lord was helping me so that I would stay and
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was easy.
Yeah, that was.
But I think one of the other things that helped is that he didn't fight me and beat me up. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just told somebody today, I said, I told my husband, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
Hey.
Don't hit me now. But when my mother found out, that was one of the things she thought, because, you know, in her mind, she's looking at her era growing up, that the men would beat you up.
Yeah.
My sister got beat up from her husband, who was a drug addict. So my mother is having these flashbacks, and she's thinking that he was fighting me. But I don't know what the outcome would have been if I was getting beat. I promised myself as a little kid, watching my sisters go through that, that was not going to be me. I'm not getting ready to beat me up like that. Right? And I'm thankful to this day. Like, he never fought me for money. He never fought me, forced me to do anything. Yeah, never did. He was a gentleman as a drug addict, right?
What did you say? Oh, when you were staying with your mom and the Lord was telling you, okay, it's time to go back. And how you was like, you didn't want to go back, but you said, I gotta go back because I can't, my blessing is there and I can't get it while I'm still here in Lima. And that really hit me. I was just like, man, she had the wherewithal to know. Once again, the Spirit of God is like, no, your blessing is here. If you stay in Lima, you're going to miss it. You're not going to get it. And so even though you were going through all of what you was going through, and you didn't really have no surety of what was going to happen, you still was like, God said it's time to go. And you hightailed it.
Didn't have a clue. So while I was at my mother's, the bank, so the house had gone into foreclosure, he had to get out of it. And the bank called me and they asked me if I wanted to try to rescue my house. And I told them, I said, I don't have any money. I told them an overview of what I was going through. And I just didn't think I had the means to do it on my income alone. And the bank, or the people that called me, said, well, we'll work with you. And when they said that, it was, I can't even explain the feeling that came over me, but the bank took away my excuse to not go home, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have anywhere to go. That's what I was saying. I don't have where I'm going to take my kids, right? But when she said, we'll work with you, it was like the Lord said, yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, because he had told me, your time is up. You're going to have to go back. And I remember sitting in a worship service at my mother's church, the church that I grew up in. And the Lord, again, took me to the word. Job 42:5. I have heard of thee with the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. I heard other people testify how God made a way, how he restored their lives and how he restored their marriages. And Job said, but now your eyes see. Your testimony is not based on what you heard now. It's based on what you know. And I cried like a baby because I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back. But I told my mother, I said, I can't stay. I got to go back. And she was crying with me. Because she didn't know how I was going to make it. And to have a child not in the same city with you, you feel like helpless. Like, how am I going to help you with the children, right? Yeah, but that was horrific. Knowing that I had to go back. Not knowing what I was going back to, right?
Just how God was orchestrating everything.
Everything.
It's like you can see him. Look, y'all got to get the book. Just plain and simple. Because we kind of moving through it and you getting the short version of stuff. So, but get the book.
Get the book.
Amazon or Apple Books is on there. Get it. And so you can get the details of it.
Yeah, get the book.
So God restored you in the place of your home. And then your husband calls or...
Yeah, it was like a month. I don't even know if it was a month. It was weeks after I had gotten back. He called me and he wanted to go to church with me on a Tuesday night. He had me pick him up from his friend, and I didn't want to at first because I'm thinking, here we go. Because he had gone to rehab, he'd get out and he relapsed as soon as he get a check. Go to rehab. He'd been to every rehab in the city, Then he finally went to the state hospital for a 90-day program. Every time he went, he would relapse, right? And I had told him when he first left the Lord, this was before crack came into our lives. I told him, I said, if you turn around and turn your back on God, I said, you're going to get 7 more spirits worse than your first state. You know, you thought you was an okay guy, but if 7 more spirits come, who knows what that looks like? Because when I found out he was drinking and smoking weed, he was like, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to be fooling with that crack, right? That's what he said out of his mouth. So I believed him. Now God had a plan, and I didn't know what the plan was, but that whole experience blessed my prayer life.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to church on my knees, hollering at my kids, be still, be still, be still. On my knees, but I wasn't praying. I'm trying to see what they doing, right? But when I got in that situation, it put me on my face. I ain't even know nothing about no prostrate prayer, right? I didn't know. Never read this in the scripture. But I would literally be on the floor. Not on my knees. I would be on the floor crying out to God like, Lord, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Didn't know nothing about 2 Chronicles 20 when Jehoshaphat said, Lord, we don't know what to do. But I don't know none of these scriptures, right? But it was my experience, and that's what kept me in the mode of praying, trying to get direction on, Lord, I'm about to do this. If it ain't right, stop it. Lord, talk about in all thy ways acknowledge him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I think I probably read that one, but I wasn't practicing it until I got in this situation because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have any physical person to talk to and say, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
It was me and God. And the Lord would say, do this. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to do that. Or I would go to the Lord. I said, Lord, I'm getting ready to do this. I said, if it ain't right, stop me, right?
Yeah.
Block it. Don't let it go through. Shut the door. That's how I got to be a prayer warrior. And because I got in the mode of praying and seeking for guidance, it became part of my life.
Oh, yeah.
And when the Lord brought deliverance to 1606, I said, if that kind of prayer life worked for that, it'll work for anything.
That's
you hear
right.
me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because once you get deep in your relationship with God, it's hard to turn away from that. It's hard to go back to surface
just
level.
Doing foolish right down there on your knees and ain't praying. On your knees, right?
So so you picked your husband up for service, and then he said he wanted to come back home, and and this was so he called you, pick me up for service, and go to service, and on the way to dropping him back off, he said, I want to come home.
Right. I just felt like I was pumped. Right. You tricked me. Yeah, but once again, when he asked to come back home, you know, a flood of emotions just rushed through all at the same time. And in that flood of emotions, I heard the Holy Spirit say, let him come back. And as soon as the Lord spoke, I just felt weak. Like all my strength was zapped out. I was like, oh God, here we go. So I told him, I said, okay, we're going to see if we can make this work, right? Yeah. He went in his friend's house, got his little bag.
You had boundaries put in place.
I did.
You had things set in place as far as his check and the accounts, and because
I put that in the book too. I had to, because you know.
Yeah, it's in there. You said okay,
I did.
But your name's not gonna be on the accounts. You're gonna have to give me your checks and this. But it was just really accountability. You know, it wasn't like you trying to take over and dominate. No, you have come through hell, and it's like, okay, Lord, you saying he can come back, but I don't know if he's going to have the same pattern that he's had, because he done been to rehab, and relapse. So there was nothing wrong with those boundaries. It's just common sense.
I just didn't call them accountability. Like you just called it accountability. I said, yeah, I guess that's what it was.
Well, it was.
Yeah, but it was stipulations. You could only come back if you gave me he agreed to everything, because whoever he was staying with, they told him he had to leave. So he had run out of resources. His family wasn't letting him stay there. I think one of his sisters may have let him stay 1 or 2 nights, but He didn't have anywhere to go. Run out of resources. I have nowhere to go. So whatever she says I have to do, he said, I'm going to do it. And he did it. He wasn't fussing about it. When he got paid, I would just give him $10 at a time. And he was okay with that. Yeah. And we did that for a long time.
Because prior to that, he would do okay until he got money. Until he got paid. And then he was back off.
Payday was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with him coming back home and he doing the things that you've asked him to do, like how did he get his deliverance, or where he's like, okay, because I don't think you can just do it with willpower and
no. But he surrendered his life back to the Lord, and he knew the only way he was going to be free from the bondage of crack after being in all because nobody in Fort Wayne will accept him in a rehab house anymore. They said, you know the program, just do your 12 steps, right? Yeah. So I think in his desperation, he said, you know what, I'm gonna have to comply because I ran out of options, right? And this is what's wrong with people. They feel like they got this option, so God is not one of them. Yeah. But when you run out of options and there's nobody left but God, you'll be a fool not to turn to him. So he gave his life back to the Lord. He verbally told the church, asked the church to forgive him. And he verbally said, I want to give my life back to the Lord. So it was a confession of a mind made up, wanting to do something different. Wow. And so from that point, he knew what to do. He had been in relationship with the Lord before he turned around and went to that. So he knew what to do. He knew he needed to get in his word. He knew he was going to have to fast. And so we would just do that together, right? We studied a Sunday school lesson together. We had fast days. That was back when the church had fast days, right? And he did all of those spiritual things to get himself back up on top, because he knew that if he didn't, he was the inevitable. So he didn't go back to using drugs from the point that he confessed. And I think he said, I don't know if he drank or he tried to do crack at one time after that. And he said he got so sick, he thought he was going to die. Wow. And the Lord kind of arrested him and said, this is your last chance. You either do or don't, right? And it's been since 89. What's that? 37 years ago. Wow. Yeah. The Lord had showed me in a dream that I had written a book, but I could remember the Lord at different intervals in my life saying, put that in your book. And I was like, Lord, I ain't telling nobody that. Yeah. And he said, I called you to tell this story, right? I thought, I was just embarrassed about a lot of things, just even growing up. Never remember my mother telling me she loved me. Like I had food. People think because you got food and clothes on your back, can't you see I love you? Yeah. But it's the power of the spoken word.
Because children we don't understand that. See, as an adult, I understand my mom did what she did. She worked. She made sure we had food, a roof. She did those things. That was her way of showing love. But as a child, you don't understand that. Right. You just think, okay, mama going to work.
Everybody got food on their table, right?
you want to be hugged. You want to be nourished. And you want to be told, I love you and you're beautiful and all. So it's like, as a child, you don't understand.
You don't.
That this is it.
Myself, if I ever had children, that I was not going to let them grow up and say they never felt loved. I never said I loved them. That I didn't caress them and hold them right and hug. I said, that is not going to be me. People ask me a lot of times, don't you hate your mom for not telling you who your dad was and all the years you missed out? You could have been in his life. He could have been in your life. And I told him, I said, no, I don't hate my mother. I can't hate my mother because I don't know what I would have done in that situation. This is back in the 60s, right? Yeah. She could have aborted me. She could have gave me away for real. I could have had parents really wasn't, right? She could have done a number of things because she had to live a life of embarrassment, right? You married to this man who looked like a white man with green eyes and you got the little chocolate drop. It was obvious to the whole city. We lived in a little small town. And people was like, that can't be your kid. It was obvious. Yeah. But so she endured a lot just to keep me, right?
Yeah. And saying that, I want to jump over to when your mom finally did tell you about
I was
and
married.
and then the reason why she didn't tell you.
Why my mom did not tell me
Yeah, why she didn't tell you.
about my real father. And so, but the stipulation on her coming back to him and in them trying to have a life together was that she not tell me that I wasn't his kid.
Mm,
And she promised him that she wouldn't tell me. And I
yeah.
was like, why would you keep a promise like that? Especially after they divorced when I was 4. I would have said,
Mhm.
okay, this give me the license to tell her. Right? I'm
Well,
4 years old.
he said, um, you can't tell her until I'm dead.
Well, that's when
So
she told me.
yeah. So when he passed
When
away,
he passed away, the year after I got married, he passed away. And somebody called to tell me. I don't know if it was her or my sisters, but they told me that he had passed away. And it was so weird. I didn't have any emotions. I wasn't happy or sad or nothing. It was like, I can't remember the time frame, but somewhere months after that, I went home. And she told me the whole story. And that's what she said. She said, I promised him that I wouldn't tell you. And I'm thinking, why would you keep a promise to a man that was mean to you? So I'm running around the house. I'm a little child, but I'm a constant reminder to her every
Yeah.
time she looks at me, right?
So do you think maybe she agreed to it because maybe she felt an obligation because she did go back to him and he did say, I'm gonna raise her and love her.
I think she did. She felt like, okay, this is the least I can do. He gonna raise a kid that's not his, and he knows it's not, right? My husband and I got married. I was I don't know if I was depressed or I was just in a bad way emotionally. And he was like, what is the problem, right? And I just said, I don't know who my dad is. I felt I didn't have a deep root of belonging to anybody.
Or identity.
Yeah, no, that was what identity crisis, right? And he would say, well, I don't know my dad either. I said, but you know who he was.
Yeah.
And you know that he is deceased. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's dead or alive. That's too different. You can't even compare them.
So let's talk about how God orchestrated you finding your real daddy.
Oh, boy. I'm telling you.
Just the way God orchestrated it. Just
yeah.
It's almost like some random thing, but it's not random. Just like, God did that.
Right. I'm telling you, these stories, if it wasn't my story, I'll probably be looking at somebody's side eye too, thinking, okay, she got that little mixed up and added something to it. But this happened to me. Once again, I had a dream. And I'm not even a dreamer. Anyway, I had a dream about this man, in the dream, all I saw was like it could be described as a picture or something. It was no action, no moving around. It was just a man that I saw. I described he had an olive green suit and a tie. And the craziest thing, I didn't know who he was. And I was afraid to say something to Mike because I didn't want him to think she up here dreaming about some old flame shit right from high school. Right. And so I didn't know how do you tell your husband you're dreaming about another man and you don't even know who he is, right? Yeah. So for a long while, I didn't even say nothing to Mike, but it was like it was haunting me because I was trying to get a visual of how do I know this man, right? Didn't know the man from Apple on the Ground. And I was sharing it with another friend of mine. And she was saying, well, tell me about him. And I started describing him to her. And she pulled out a business card. The business card was in black and white, but it was the exact same portrait that I saw in the dream. And when I saw it immediately, I got clammy and sweaty. And I feel like I was finna hyperventilate because I'm thinking, okay, this is getting weird, right? This is getting weird. Yes. And so I couldn't figure out how she had a picture of the man. I didn't know him. But when I looked at the business card, his address was what my mother told me. She got letters from my dad when she moved back because he was in the military and he was leaving Ohio, going back to New York. And he would write her. And she said, all I know is his name and where these letters came from.
Wow.
And his address was he lived in the same city. So I thought, oh, maybe he'll help me find my father, right?
Mm.
Anyway, I reached out to this young man, and he told me he was an evangelist. And he said, but while I'm in New York, he said, I'll do what I can to find him.
Yeah.
Oh, this is over months. He had a friend that worked for the Census Bureau. The dude probably would have got fired if the people knew he did this. But he looked him up, and he told this evangelist where my dad worked, where he went to church at, date, his address, everything. So the evangelist went to my dad's job and told him that I was looking for him.
Wow.
He gave him the number, and he said, now it's up to you. You call her, you don't. I'm just trying to help the girl out, right? I was at work. I'll never forget it. And I got the call from the evangelist that he found him. Yeah, I couldn't even concentrate on my work the rest of the day. Yeah, that was on a Friday, and that Sunday, my dad called me on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was just sobbing on the floor. Mike was like, girl, get the phone and talk to them. I didn't know what to say, right? I was 28 by this time. I didn't know, what do you say to a man that's supposed to be your dad?
Yeah.
You never called a man. I never called a man dad, right? And I referred to the man that I thought was my dad, and it was funny because every time he would come, the man who I thought was my father, every time he would come to Ohio to family reunions, he would always pick me up in the air and say, who am I? And I think he was testing me out to see if somebody had told me. And I would say, Daddy. We called him Daddy, right? Daddy. And I think that was his comfort to say, okay, she doesn't know. Yeah. Because I didn't. I was happy to see him. Yeah, didn't know he was supposed to be in my life and supposed to be raising me. And, this is my daddy from North Carolina, right? Daddy in town. I was happy as a lark, right? Happy to see him and sad when he left. Never lived in the house with a man and called him my dad, right? Yeah. So I've got my real dad on the phone. Do I call him George or do I call him Daddy? Or I call him Daddy? Well, I don't know what to say. So my husband was like, get the phone and talk to the man. I was just so overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. But it was all in a dream. It started out with a dream about a man that I didn't know who lived in the same city as my father. Wow. And when I went to that year, the Lord said, I'm going to do this and it's not going to cost you a dime. I flew on my company's jet to New York to meet him for the first time. And all I had to pay, me, my mother, my husband went, and all I had to pay was the tax on the tickets. It was like $60 for all three of us to go to New York, right? We was there for 2 days. And when I met him, we met up with the guy that helped me find him. You could walk from my dad's house to his house. They live in the same neighborhood. Wow. My dad lived on 4th Avenue. He lived on Union Avenue, like within the same vicinity. Who can make this stuff up, right? I don't know either one of these men. I don't know nothing about nothing. But God does all things, right? He knows all things. Wow. I was like, Lord, I knew you loved me, but I didn't know you loved me like this, right? Because I was trying to hire a private investigator and ain't had a dime. Me and Mike was broken Job's turkey, right? We have no money for no private investigator. And the Lord said, I'm going to do this and it's not going to cost you a dime, right?
So
I'm going to tell you.
He restored your marriage.
Yes.
Restored your relation. Well, he restored your identity. Because now you're like, oh, this is my daddy. And then I think you didn't put this in the book, but you were saying how your hair, young, was going gray.
Exactly.
And then when you met the other side of your family, they had the same thing.
It all made sense.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because I had more gray hair than my mother did when I was in my 30s. But it connected the dots. Yeah. Like everybody that I go to my dad's family reunion, we resemble. So when my sisters, my dad's daughters, they saw that I had gray hair, I was in my 20s. Like when I was in my 27 to be exact, my kids' classmates used to think I was their grandmother.
Yeah. Your hair was gray. And at first I thought from a distance you were older. But then when I got close and saw your face, I said, she's young. Why is her hair all gray?
I know, ain't that crazy?
But
I
hey,
was-
you rocked it with confidence and poise. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
it looks good.
And I never dyed it. And so my sisters, when I met them, they said, they looked at each other and they said, what's wrong with us?
Yeah.
They stopped dyeing their hair, and I'm telling you, both of them have beautiful, beautiful gray hair.
Now, where the eyes come from?
Well, you know, these eyes is a $49.99. So, but if the man I thought would have been my dad, they would have been real, because he had green eyes, right? And my sister, my older sister, they all got light color eyes. So
Okay.
yeah, so if the man who I thought was my dad would have really been my dad, I might have a different story to tell today. But these cost $49.99, right?
Now, all these years, I have thought those were your eyes. I said, she got gray hair. I was like, huh,
That's weird, right?
I just said it's interesting. So, and I'm thinking, well, maybe her siblings on her real dad, maybe they got the eyes and the gray hair too.
They do have the different color, the light color eyes.
Okay.
For real.
So you said what, $49.99?
Yeah, girl, $49.99.
Hey, y'all heard it here first.
Right.
I never knew.
You know, and people ask me, some people walk up to me and say, oh, your eyes are pretty. And I say, thank you. And then some people walk up to me and say, are those your real eyes? And I say, they cost $49.99, right? So I do own up to the truth if somebody specifically asks.
I thought, because I would see your daughter, and I was like, man, they are twins.
Mm-hmm.
She done passed them eyes down to her daughter.
Right? Pass them down. She paying $49.99 too. You know, and I don't have. It ain't no shame in my game. You know, like I said, if people ask me, I do tell them.
So the last question I want to ask about your real dad. You said you had 10 good years with him, and then you said the Lord was impressing on you, like you need to go see him.
I tell that in the book too. Then.
If you don't reread,
I got to reread the book.
Cause there's a lot that we didn't touch on, but y'all gonna have to get the book if y'all want to get the in betweens and the in betweens of the in betweens and the details.
Right.
Yeah, go and get it. Amazon, Apple Books,
right.
Just go.
Barnes and Noble,
Yep.
right? Westbow Press, yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, and if you want me to autograph your book, go to AnitaPayton.com to my website and order it from there, because all those books come directly to me.
And he tells you that he has cancer.
It's a funny kind of thing, because I didn't even expect him to be living. And when I set out to find him, or the desire I had to try to find my real father, this is what I would say. I don't care if he's dead or alive. I just want to know. Right? I found out he was living. This goes back to, I knew God loved me, but I didn't know he loved me like that. So in 92, when I found him, you know, we developed a relationship. He was an honorable man. And he said, but before I met him, he was in the streets, because my dad he was a Rolling Stone. I got a brother. I'm still getting hits on Ancestry.com of people who claiming my daddy was their daddy. I got siblings I'm still meeting, never met, right? Dad was rolling. He wasn't even laying his hat. He was just rolling, right? He was rolling. God bless G.W. Hammond. God bless his soul. He's sleeping in the clay right now, so I ain't going to talk too much about him, but I just want you to know, GW, that we still finding your children. But anyway, yeah, so when I found him in 92, we built this relationship. He would come here to see me. I'd go to New York to see him. And I was meeting his side of the family, going to the family reunions. And I felt, I can't even describe the feeling. When you talk about the identity crisis, that's a real thing. I can't even explain the emotion that flooded my soul to be connected to people. And it wasn't no lie, right? These are my real people, because DNA don't lie, right? So anyway, these 10 years go by, and then in 2001, I got this strong urgency in my spirit. Once again, God speaking and leading and knowing that it's him.
Yeah.
And I told my husband, I said, I gotta go see my dad. Now, he was between New York and North Carolina. He had a daughter that lived there, so he would go to North Carolina and stay there for weeks and months at a time. He'd go back to New York. So I called him. I said, Dad, where are you? He said, I'm in North Carolina. I said, stay right there. I'm on my way. Got there on September the 10th, 2001. That next morning I woke up, my dad was on the floor like a little kid watching cartoons. I said, well, what's going on? I didn't know we were under a terrorist attack. Found out that New York was shut down. He was stranded in North Carolina probably for another month. But he and I, we had sweet fellowship while I was there. And one day I took him to the drugstore to pick up a script. He had cancer. Wow. And he was going down there to get treated for medical reasons, and he started singing. Did I tell that in the book?
You told that in the book.
He started singing a song. Started singing, this may be my last time. This may be my last time. This may be my last time. It may be my last time. I don't know. And when he started singing that, it was like chills ran all over my body. I said, Dad, don't say that. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. This might be your last time. But when he sung that song, my whole body just chilled. That was going to be the last time I saw him alive. And that's why it was such an urgency in my spirit to get down there or get up there, wherever he was at, and see him. January the 4th of 2002, he called me on New Year's Day. And he said, I'm in so much pain. I don't know how much more pain. He said, I'm asking God to come get me. And I was sobbing and just boo-hooing and crying because I knew. And on the 4th, I got a call that he had passed away. But when I got the call, the emotions that I felt was not grief. It was a relief that God loved me so much that he restored that relationship and gave me a 10-year window, a 10-year time span to be in his life. And I tell people those 10 years changed the rest of my life. Wow. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what's wrong with people that won't serve my God.
Hey.
Right?
You got to tell me.
Yeah, I'm all in as I seen how God worked in my life, right? It's undeniable. I couldn't even make this up.
Hey, yeah, I was reading the book and I was right there on my ottoman part of the couch and I'm like, girl, you gotta go to bed. Wait, one more page. You gotta go to bed. One more page. I'm like, okay. I said,
go to bed.
I gotta go to bed. I think the whole time I'm reading it, I'm also being analytical because I'm going back and I'm just saying from the beginning, God was setting her up for this and for this. Because I'm like, there's no way she was gonna get through all of this without being fortified in God. And then God comes in, and I just believe he was honoring all of those seeds that was placed in you. And it's like, it's growing. So when you get over here, you be like, okay, God told me I got to do this, so I'm going to do it. Okay, God said don't divorce, I ain't going to divorce. Okay, God. It's like and I know you had to wrestle with being obedient. It wasn't just like that.
No.
But in the end, you always made the right decision. I'm going to trust God.
Right. Woo.
And all of that. Going back to the dream he gave you with the book.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't know that I was going to birth.
I didn't know.
All of this to put in this.
I had no idea. It's been a journey, right? He's able to restore the years that the palmer worm, the cankerworm, the caterpillar have eaten. God is a restorer.
And the locusts.
The locusts. Oh, yeah, because the locusts are terrible.
They come in a swarm.
Tear up the whole crop, right? I have no excuse to not trust him from these points on in the rest of my life because I seen how he moved in my life. And for me to stop now and say, I don't know if he can, is a blasphemy, right? You don't know if he can, but God is faithful and I'm grateful.
Yeah. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate you telling your story because, like I said, we was going in one direction. I'm just like, we got to get on this restoration.
Right.
You had to let him restore you. Had you leaned to your own understanding, lean to your own hurt, lean to your own way of thinking, and you would have been like, I ain't going through this. I didn't sign up for this. I'm gonna go my way and get relief. Even when the church people were saying, "Oh, you got a way out," you held strong to what God said. Do not divorce him. And you made a choice. Okay, I got to ride it out.
And though the journey was rough, I wouldn't trade it because it took all of that to get me to where I am today, right? I didn't know that. I didn't even know that this stuff was going to even go in the book until after they would happen. And then I would hear the Holy Spirit say, put that in your book. I'll be like, Lord, I ain't telling nobody that, right?
We didn't even talk about the mental breakdown you had. We ain't going to talk about it. Y'all going to have to get the book. Because she done went through a mental breakdown. The kids didn't know where she was at. Nobody knew nothing. They thought she was dead. No, get the book. Get the book. Get the book.
Get the book.
Hey, because we didn't even touch on your nonprofit.
Yeah. Passed down from generation to generation. A little nugget. They say experience is the best teacher. But I say experience can be the teacher of fools. Because a wise man will look to see what another man does, to see what he will choose. Is that wealth in the kitchen?